Matt LaFleur is a perfect 5-0 against Sean McVay and the Rams. The Packers win another game which highlighted the tale of two halves and avoided some sloppy mistakes from costing them down in LA.
I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm Kesha.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Soundsgouda. Rob and I take a collective sigh of relief as the Packers survive out in LA. So my name is Jordan Olson. This is my co-host and best friend, Rob Ralph. Again, thanks to our new and returning listeners for being here with us. We are excited to be recording right after the Packers game today and to bring you our, I guess, kind of what will be an instant reaction. We don't have a lot of information. We don't have pressers yet, injury updates, although it seemed like a pretty clean game. But we're going to run this over for you. And just a reminder that we have new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So, Rob, the Packers win 24-18. So, how are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, I do apologize if you guys hear the sniffles. I am sick, so I'll try to keep that down to a minimum. But the defense got to stop. When was the last time that a team was driving like that, right? Joe Barry prison days. So that was great. Obviously, dialed up some more pressures there towards the end, and that looked like the more classic Halfley defense there. So super happy about that. Really sloppy. Obviously in the first half, just all sorts of out of sync. I thought that there was some good and unique pressures that the Rams defense brought, specifically on the one that Jordan Love thought he was going to get a safety on, and threw the ball, classic Will Levis, to the right, thinking he could get, I think it was the tight end. I don't know. I don't remember who was over there out in the flat, but they easily grabbed it and ran that in for a pick six. Jordan Love's first pick six ever. So,
by the way, on the record, I think he was just trying to throw that ball away. I mean, there was a tight end in the vicinity. My guess is when they asked him in the presser that he's going to say he was just, he put one hand on the ground. He's vertical and he's just trying to throw the ball out of bounds past the line of scrimmage in the direction of an eligible receiver. So they didn't take an eligible, grounding on that play, right? So, because I think that does result in a safety if you have a grounding penalty in the end zone. So, I mean, somewhat heads up by Jordan Love on that play, but obviously right into the waiting arms of, I don't even know who that corner is right now. I should know, but so much happened in the game, I haven't even had time to get his name. You know who it was, Rob?
I don't remember off the top of my head either, so somebody leave us a comment, please. Let us know.
He got gifted that one, though. And man, I was not pleased with the Packers' first half, including that very uncharacteristic, really wonky play from Jordan Love. But yeah, so that was a costly turnover for the Packers. And they have that other really goofy play, which Reed is actually somewhat heads up on and bats the ball out of bounds. Going into the second half, the backwards pass, which is a fumble at that point in time. And Reed was there, and he knew he needed to make sure that ball got out of bounds so it wasn't a scoop and score for the Rams defense. But man, all sorts of out of whack.
Yeah, definitely. And then I'm arguing with people on X about Jaden Reed is not the Packers' number one wide receiver at this moment, even though he was the one that was solely in charge of making sure that the Packers had a 7-0 lead at that time with that unbelievable, almost why did you throw it, unless you're throwing it literally a perfect ball, and he did, catch by Jaden Reed to set up Josh Jacobs' first TD, baby, ever in a Packer uniform. So, there was a multitude of different things, and then obviously, I don't know what conversations were happening in the locker room, but third quarter, man, they just come out guns blazing, just completely different team in that third quarter. You have a Tucker Kraft resurgence, and they scheme up some plays for him to get him open, and he made some incredible plays there too. So just again, another very emotional roller coaster type of a game.
Yeah, just a lot to digest and process in the short amount of time that we've had post game here. But I really hope that this is not a trend that continues to be the theme of the Packers season, because it's cost them in one or two games already. The slow, sloppy starts, the penalties, and then like forcing to play like nearly a perfect game in the second half. Almost came back against the Vikings, did come back this week against the Rams. I mean, given it's only a 3-point deficit, but you're playing for behinds, you're playing right into the game plan of what Sean McVay and the Rams wanted to do. Put the ball in Kyren Williams' hands, which Rob and I were just talking about this before we started. The man is a player, really something special to watch. You know, he hardly ever goes down on first contact. He's got great instincts, great patience. He's going to be a great player in this league for a long time, and we struggled to contain him as well today. But they could do that because they had the early lead and everything was at their disposal at that point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what did he have? 102 yards rushing and a tutty, right? So I think he had somewhere near the same stats from the previous week too against the Bears. Yeah, he is. He's just a phenomenal running back. So obviously the offense is going to be centered through him. I thought there was, man, how many times, can't even probably count on one hand, where I'm like, yeah, we got him stopped in the backfield, and then he like twists out of it, or he like jukes a different way, or he angles his body, and then he picks up another 2, 3, 4 yards or whatever it is. It was like, I kept like I was like, oh, again? You got to be kidding me. Like probably all Packers fans watching that. But yeah, he's a stud, man.
Yeah, and you know, like some of me wants to just give all the credit to Kyren Williams, but some of me, I still see some problems with tackling on this Packers roster. And that's something that we're going to have to shore up here, whether we want to be good against great running backs in the future. Next week, we have a good running back we're facing, and we're not talking about the Cardinals quite yet. But we got a mobile quarterback, and we're going to have to tackle these guys to win moving forward. There was Williams, he comes up with the big pass deflection at the end of the game, but there was like that screen pass where he just like froze. It was like the play out of Invincible where Mark Wahlberg plays for the Eagles. It's like his first play, and he goes and he freezes up and he's chopping, and then the guy just he gets taken out and the guy blows past him for a big gain. And I'm like, damn it, Evan Williams.
Just keep going with that playbook play. I was like imagining me watching that movie again. That was good. It was good.
My memory's good. I really enjoy movies. We don't talk about movies a lot on this, but I did just recently watch that the other night, so it was fresh in my mind. Yeah, good football reference, right? So yeah. So what are your other takeaways from the game at this point in time, Rob? I mean, obviously Tucker Kraft, huge game.
Yeah, huge game. Again, that first half, they got away from running the football. I felt like every single time they were running especially with Josh Jacobs, man. Can't remember what he was averaging in the first half, but it might have been upper 5, maybe 6 something yards a carry, whatever it was. He was cooking, right? And we called this on the last on the preview for this game too. Is just give the guy the rock, multiple times, have it be a little bit more balanced, and then have some good play action calls off of that. But then they got away from that. Obviously, dude, Matt Stafford was throwing a ton of completions over the middle. Didn't want to throw too many deep balls because you have Mr. X going to give it to you. 2 takeaways in this game. Man, if he is not in the top running for Defensive Player of the Year at this point, like it'd be absolutely shocking. So throw you a DMX reference that X is going to give it to you. But man, I think he's gonna maybe this one he won't get an interception in, or he'll play somewhat mediocre, have a little bit of regression, but he just seems as games go on, he keeps getting better.
Yeah, 5 for 5 in Packers games so far with interception, almost 2 in this game, and he did have 2 takeaways though, because he scooped up that forced fumble caused by Engabari. Great punch out by Engabari. So we did have a couple of players that made some disruptive plays in the backfield. And I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We'll maybe come back to where the Packers are at with their pass rush, because I still think there's a lot left to be desired there. I got a little better in the fourth quarter. But Yeah, I think that McKinney is a hell of a player, and the secondary held up okay today again without Jair Alexander. Carrington Valentine kind of looked like he was back, but maybe a little rusty from some of his time off that he had. I mean, he hardly played in camp, and he's missed a substantial amount of time. So we'll see how he fares as he continues to go. But I have a lot of confidence in Carrington Valentine.
Yeah, absolutely. Stokes had a couple of good plays today too, I felt like. So I'll give him a little bit of props. Yeah, I the defense and the pressure, man. Like I don't know. Gary again too. Pretty non-existent. So I don't know if he had any pressures or not, but he definitely didn't have any sacks.
No, I mean, usually when you watch football, right? I mean, anybody that watches for a long time, you can, if you watch enough games, you notice the players that are making an impact, right? And it's been a long time since we've seen Gary's impact on a game. I mean, finally, Kenny Clark had a big kind of pressure at the end where he kind of came free on an overload blitz, and I'm like, oh, cool. It's cool to hear Kenny Clark's name, but again, here we are talking about maybe our two best defensive linemen, pass rushers, having minimal impact on this game. Carl Brooks had a great game though.
Yeah, yes, good, and we wanted that too, right? So Colby Wooden, right? Insert Colby Wooden too. He got in there to play quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, I did listen to Mike Wall's podcast though on this too, where he was talking about this from an offensive line perspective, and basically, I think what he was saying too is Gary just needs to change it up. Like, they know what you're doing, and they know the moves and the techniques and stuff that you're doing. And if you can't beat them on the outside, but straight up just speed, you got to change. You got to change something up. So that was his perspective, and that made a lot of sense just from continuing to watch him just hit a wall, hit some big offensive linemen, and not be able to create any pressure.
Well, he's an extremely hard worker, right? And it kind of took season
For
3
sure.
before he, I think, probably really got that technique down and kind of became the player that we paid with this massive contract that he has. So, I mean, I got to wonder, kind of sticking his hand in the dirt and not exactly playing, being asked to play a different way. I'm sure he's going to work hard this season, but it's pretty hard to reinvent yourself in the NFL in season. That's like some off-season work.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe that's, being a four tech rather than, standing up and, not having your hands in the dirt too, makes quite a bit of difference. Obviously being a 3-4, you want more athletes out on the field, being able to be quicker and move around and stuff too. So, I mean, I don't know. He's got the talent. We've seen it. He just needs to, I don't know what he needs to do. He needs to bring it. He needs to try and think of something different. Maybe him and Halfley can sit down and game plan them and the line coach and come up with some different ways that we can scheme him to get him open, because I don't know, it's just not working right now for him.
Yeah, I'll just kind of highlight one more thing on the defense, and then I'm going to switch over to the other side of the ball and talk teams for a minute too. Yeah, this is I think the Packers lead the league in takeaways right now per the broadcast at that point in time. So not sure what's going to happen tonight, but I think they have a pretty sizable lead right now. So I can't imagine going into week 6 that number is going to change. We haven't had this kind of impact by a player, Xavier McKinney, since Charles Woodson. This is actually his jersey. It's not Eric Stokes, for anybody wondering. But I threw this on at halftime. I was kind of doing a bunch of yard work before the game. I made my first batch of fall chili, and I'm like, all right, I'm just kind of like into watching it now. But I felt like I needed a spark, and I threw Charles Woodson on, and, I think he's that kind of player, right? I haven't seen this impact by a player that's joined as a free agent since Charles Woodson.
Yeah, there's no way I thought that was an Eric Stokes jersey, but that's just me knowing you. There is no way that is an Eric Stokes jersey. Obviously, Charles Woodson. Eric Stokes would have to make All-Pro a couple of times before Jordan would, go out and get the Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes is a good player. I'm just saying, but he's not Charles Woodson.
Yeah,
so.
no disrespect. You usually got to earn a little bit more in my book before I'll buy your jersey. I mean, just honorable mention though. I think when we got 55, Zadarius Smith. I mean, he was
Yeah,
a player for about
for
a
sure.
2-year, run that had that kind of impact. But obviously, we had some issues with Z. Great player. And, then he went, again, another player went to the Vikings after.
Shocker.
So here, switching over to the other side of the ball quick, though.
Yeah.
So does Dontavian Wicks officially have a drop problem? What do you think?
Yes.
It's getting old quick.
I mean, that's it. I mean, I put him in my FanDuel lineup, man. How he's gonna
I did
cook
too.
today.
I had Reed and him. I mean, and we haven't talked Dobbs yet, and we're gonna transition there. But I'm like, those two guys are gonna lead the passing game today. And I went like super homer, and I put Tucker Kraft in there.
You got Jordan Love at quarterback too, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
same here.
I
Okay.
I was expecting in our pregame show, I expected a 35 type of victory. So I was expecting like 4-ish tutties from Jordan Love and Wicks and Reed and Kraft to all be the beneficiaries of at least one of those. But Wicks, a disappointment again, and he drops a couple passes, but one towards the end of the game, like a 10-yard gain that would have put them in field goal position.
Yeah.
Would have sealed the game for us at that point in time. That was a big drop, in my opinion. We had a couple of stalled drives in the first half, too.
If he's in the jugs machine, that's not working. I don't know, man. The dude has all the talent in the world. We've said this on previous episodes. This is not something that's like crazy, right? He does. You can see it, especially from last year. If this turns into like a Devontae Adams, and no, I know it is Dontavian Wicks this episode. Thank you very much. But you all remember Devontae Adams had the case of the drops that second year, right? And then went on to do Devontae Adams All-Pro Hall of Famer type of stuff. So that's like my best hope of what I'm trying to lean towards right now, because they didn't go to him as much this game, I will say, but it's definitely not instilling any confidence from Jordan Love and the rest of the offensive coaches to keep going to him, because he keeps dropping wide open passes on these critical downs, man.
Mm-hmm. I think they'll believe to him and they'll keep going back to him, but it's probably one of those things where, he's probably putting a lot of pressure on himself given the start that he's had, and it's probably a little bit in his head right now on these drops. And, we haven't addressed the elephant in the room yet, but, it's hard for me to believe that Romeo Dobbs wouldn't have made that catch. We haven't recorded an episode since Romeo, had his episode, and he missed Thursday and Friday's practice, and he had the well-being check, and he ultimately ended up being suspended one game for conduct detrimental to the team. But what's your take on the Dobbs situation while we're talking about it?
Well, I think we were joking, and I did see this on X from probably another Packers podcast, but if he was upset about the game plan, specifically in the first half, I mean, kind of understand. No, I mean, people are really, really quick to pass judgment and to throw a player aside. Now, I get it. All hail supreme to the Packers and the Packers organization. I totally get that. 100%. But, let's hear a little bit more info, a little bit more context. I don't know if we'll quite get the full story. Maybe, more stuff I'm sure will leak out this next week. And Matt LaFleur will definitely be asked about it a time or 2 or 10. So I'd like to know his side of the story, really, as stuff comes out. But yeah, absolutely. Romeo Dobbs has got the best hands, I believe, on our team. So easily, yeah. I thought if that was his target, he for sure would have came down with that. I'd been 100% confident with this. But you know what? I just hope he's okay. I know you do too. Mm-hmm. That, it was surprising to hear that to come out that he was quote unquote unhappy with his role. But also too, like, he's had 2 games with Malik Willis. The one game was in the international in Brazil. That's the start of your season. You're playing in a freaking crazy territory. And then you're getting absolutely lopsided against the Vikings back at home for your game 4. So he slammed his helmet, during the Vikings. I saw that too on the sideline, and I think that tempered into whatever this became. But whatever he saw coming out for that game plan, coming out of that Wednesday, because he was there, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then he did not show up Thursday, Friday. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to hear Romeo Dobbs' side of the story, but I'm staying calm, patient, cool, and collected. Hope the guy's okay, and I'm sure he will be.
Yeah, and we'll probably never know the whole story one way or another. I mean, maybe Romeo will be fully transparent in that. Maybe he won't be for a while, right? If he is going through some personal matters, maybe some mental health issues. And again, 100% agree with you, Rob, that my biggest concern is this seems really out of character for him.
It does.
On paper, through his interviews, all that stuff, he seems like a really team-oriented guy. It's this preseason, like between preseason games 2 and 3, he's talking about how collectively the four of them need to be focused on the Packers being great and not individual accolades. And, it'd just be very hypocritical. He doesn't strike me. He seems very, very mature, very, very well-mannered. It would surprise me if he's that kind of hypocritical guy. But, people say things in public and they do different things behind closed doors. So the other thing I'll say is really disappointed in a lot of the Packers fans who have jumped ship on him so much and really said some bad things. I do wonder I'm just speculating. I have no idea here, right? I've got no news and it's been widely talked about. He could have some anxiety, but if he is having some personal matters, some mental health issues, and we're all here, dogging on him, dumping on him, cut him, trade him. I can't imagine that that's going to inspire him to come back and be the best version of himself when it's time. So let's just give the man a chance. I believe in the Packers knowing the right thing to do. If they need to cut ties with him because it's not the right thing for the team, then they'll find the appropriate time to do that. So,
oh man, that would be a storyline for sure. Let's not go down that road. But yeah, definitely hope the guy's okay, and I'm fully confident he'll be back and be better.
Yeah, I'd really hate that. I mean, before this incident, I texted my family before we knew about the suspension or whatever. I'm like, he's like one of my 3 or 4 favorite players on this team, and there's a lot of guys who perform better than him every week and have huge games. But we're so quick to forget about the big moments that he's had. I really pulling for him, and I hope all is well. So, quick note as we kind of wrap up this game recap is kind of an off day for Daniel Whalen. Had a couple of short punts, very uncharacteristic of him. But on the positive note, Narvison went 1 for 1, and I'm hoping that's a confidence booster for him.
Yeah, flip the script. Whelan had some duds, but Narvison made a 46-yarder. So I'm fully confident in Whelan being able to bounce back. He'll have an off game every once in a while too.
Look around the league, Rob.
Yeah? Okay. All right.
Give it to us.
Here we go. Okay. You had a great game. And I'm thanking my lucky stars that somehow DeAndre Swift is a capable running back now, but it's just the Panthers. Commanders, man, they look unstoppable. They roll past the Browns. Dude, is there not a more team that is down in the dumps than the Cleveland Browns, and specifically that contract for what they have for Deshaun Watson? What do you think on that, quick, Jordan?
This is like a complete juxtaposition, right? You've got the Commanders, which have been terrible, and they look great now. And the Browns look like they've taken the Commanders' role from seasons past. The Browns were everybody's darling last year. We got Joe Flacco. They look terrible now. And, very Cleveland Browns-like. They've got a lot to do to unbury themselves from the Deshaun Watson contract. But Commanders are an exciting team. Jaden Daniels, I expect him to get better and better. But with the Cowboys struggling and the Eagles not looking great, that would be a hell of a surprise in the NFC East, right?
The NFL in general this year has been a massive surprise. Just in the post-game press conference, I'll say really quick, people are calling for my boy Jameis Winston to start. Kevin Stefanski says no, Deshaun Watson is starting. So who knows if that's just coach speak, but he looks absolutely terrible along with the Browns. Texans beat Bills on a really back and forth. The Texans got by a few scores on a 59-yard field goal. So Texans here with a couple of big wins. The Bengals ended up losing They lost to the Ravens, and the Ravens won in overtime. Yeah, that's right. But Jamar Chase ended up going massive for me for my fantasy team. So that was an absolutely wild game. 49ers lose again to the Arizona Cardinals, who the Packers will play this next week. The 49ers are, what is it, 1-4 so far?
No, they're 2-3, right? So
2-3, excuse me.
And we won't talk much about the Niners, but is Christian McCaffrey, is the loss of him really worth three losses at this point in time? I don't know. They don't look good, but unfortunately, I trust Kyle Shanahan a lot, and he scares the crap out of me. So I don't expect this to be the end for them.
Absolutely. Yep. We all think that they'll probably end up bouncing back. All right. Well, real quick here, another shocker. The Giants beat the Seahawks in Seattle. Jags get their first win against Joe Flacco and the Colts. So thank you as always, Packer fans, for coming in and listening to us. We do have new content coming out every Wednesday and Saturday in season. Wednesday is the recap from the game before. Saturday is the preview for the next upcoming game. If you know another Packer friend or two that would want to come in and nerd out and listen to us, please send them our way. We are on YouTube, of course. Please like and subscribe. We are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. Me and Jordan are on X too. I'm at Robbers79. Jordan is at Olson Jord. But we appreciate it, and let's go beat the crap out of the Arizona Cardinals back at home at Lambeau. And until next time, Packers fans, we hope that you have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good night. Take care. Go Pack Go.